Ship lights or ship lanterns should at least appear between sunrise and sunset and in cases of reduced visibility, whereas day signals should be displayed in daylight. The sun goes down, the navigation lights come on, and based on the navigation lights that we can observe, we must be able to determine what kind of vessels we see, whether there is a risk of collision with any of the vessels, and what our responsibilities in relationship to the other vessels are. And we start by looking at some definitions. Masthead lights are navigation lights at the masthead. They cover a sector of 225 degrees. We see like that. Side lights, we have on our starboard side a green side light and on our port side a red side light, and they each cover a sector of 112.5 degrees. So if we see a vessel from its port side, we see a red light, and if we see the vessel from its starboard side, we see a green light. And the two side lights combined have the same sector as the masthead light. So we should see side lights and masthead lights normally from power-driven vessels. A stern light has a sector of 135 degrees and covers the sector that the masthead light doesn't cover. So we won't see a masthead light and a stern light at the same time. Whereas a towing light is a yellow light, has the same sector as the stern light. Would look like that. And all-round lights are just that. They have an all-round 360 degree sector, and they can be either white, green or red. Rule number 22 covers the visibility of lights, and on vessels over 50 meters of length the visibility of lights should be at least 6 nautical miles for the masthead lights, for the side lights, stern lights and towing lights 3 nautical miles, and all-round lights also 3 nautical miles. On smaller vessels the visibility requirements are lower, so the lights don't have to be as powerful. Rule number 23 covers power-driven vessels underway, and a power-driven vessel underway shall exhibit a masthead light forward, a second masthead light aft of and higher than the forward one, except where the vessel is less than 50 meters in length. If it's less than 50 meters, it can display 2 masthead lights, but it doesn't have to. But if it's more than 50 meters, you need to have 2 masthead lights, like we see on the figure. In addition, side lights and a stern light. So what we see here, that's a power-driven vessel more than 50 meters in length, and we see it from directly ahead. We can see the 2 masthead lights, one directly above the other, and we can also see both of the side lights. Next picture, that's a power-driven vessel less than 50 meters of length. It has only 1 masthead light. There is a power-driven vessel more than 50 meters in length seen from its starboard side. And there is one less than 50 meters in length, also seen from the starboard side. A power-driven vessel of less than 7 meters in length, whose maximum speed does not exceed 7 knots, may just show 1 white all-round light, but should also preferably exhibit side lights, so if possible. A power-driven vessel of less than 12 meters in length may, instead of the other lanterns, show side lights and an all-round white light. So you could change out the masthead light and the stern light with 1 all-round white light. Towing and pushing. If the length of the tow is less than 200 meters, the tug or the towing vessel must exhibit 2 masthead lights, one above the other, side lights and stern lights, and a yellow towing light. The vessel or object being towed should ideally show side lights and stern lights. If this is not possible, the rule also provides several guidelines for how the tow can be illuminated. The main thing here is that it should be clearly visible. So we have 2 masthead lights, one above the other, we have side lights, we have stern light, and we have the yellow towing light, and the yellow towing light should be above the stern light. On the vessel being towed, we see side lights and stern light ideally. When the length of the tow measured from the stern of the towing vessel to the aft end of the tow exceeds 200 meters, we should have 3 masthead lights. So instead of 2, 1, 2, 3. In addition, side lights, stern lights and towing lights. Rule number 25 covers sailing vessels and vessels under oars, and they should show side lights and stern lights, no masthead lights. So when you're seeing a sailing vessel that is sailing, from the side you would normally only see a side light. Whereas if you see the stern, you see a stern light. So that's what a sailing vessel would look like if you see it from straight ahead. Large sailing ships, they can also display all-round red over green lights. Easy to remember because red over green is a sailing machine. Very nice. Rule 26 covers fishing vessel, and a vessel when it's engaged in trawling should have 2 all-round lights, green over white. If its length is more than 50 meters, it should in addition have a masthead light abaft of and higher than the all-round green light. And when it's making way through the water, which you normally are when you're trawling, it should have side lights and a stern light. So what we see there, that's a trawler seen from its port side. We see the port side light and we see green over white. And there we have a trawler of more than 50 meters length where you have a masthead light aft of the green light, and we see it from its starboard side. A vessel engaged in fishing other than trawling shall exhibit 2 all-round lights, red over white. When there's outlying gear extending more than 150 meters horizontally, you should have an all-round white light or a cone apex upwards in the direction of the gear. It could be with purse seining or other fishing gear. When it's making way through the water, it should also have side lights and a stern light. So on the image there, we see a fishing vessel red over white, and we see it from its stern because that's the stern light that we see, the low white light. Day signal for all fishing vessel is 2 cones with their apexes together in a vertical line, one above the other, just like that. Rule 27 covers vessels that are not under command or that have are restricted in their ability to maneuver. And we need to remember the definitions from Rule 3 to know what does it mean that a vessel has restricted ability to maneuver. A vessel that is not under command should display 2 red all-round lights, one above the other like that. If it's making way through the water, side lights and stern lights. And the day signal for not under command, that is 2 balls, like that. A vessel restricted in its ability to maneuver should display 3 all-round lights, red over white over red. And when it's making way through the water, a masthead light, side lights and stern lights. So what we see on the picture there, that is from its starboard side, a vessel less than 50 meters in length that is restricted in her ability to maneuver. Day signal for restricted ability to maneuver is a ball over a diamond over a ball, just like that. An example, this is a tow with less than 200 meters in length, and it has restricted ability to maneuver, as we see here. Now, a tow may result in a vessel having restricted ability to maneuver, but not always. This must be assessed on a case-by-case basis because it's not certain that towing will result in restricted maneuverability. If you have a reasonably small tow and you have lots of room, it doesn't really restrict your ability to maneuver. Whereas if you with the same tow come into restricted waters with heavy traffic, it may actually impact your ability to maneuver in such a way that you could display the lights for restricted ability to maneuver. Rule 28 is about vessels that are constrained by their draft. Vessels that are constrained by their draft can, in addition to ordinary lights, display 3 all-round red lights vertically, one above the other, just like this. The day signal is a black cylinder, and typical example of this kind of vessels are deep draft tankers or bulk carriers that can only navigate safely in a dredge channel. Rule 29 goes about pilot vessels, and a pilot vessel is a vessel carrying pilots to or from other vessels that require or need a pilot. They should display two all-round lights, white over red, and when they're underway, side lights and stern lights. Rule 30 is about anchored vessels and vessels that are aground. If you're at anchor and less than 50 meters long, you should display one white all-round light at the fore, at the bow. If you're at anchor and more than 50 meters long, you should display two white all-round lights, one at the front end of the ship, one at the aft, and the aft one should be lower down than the one at the front. If you're at anchor and your length is more than 100 meters, you should have the deck lights on as well to illuminate the deck. The day signal for being at anchor is a ball at the bow, at the front end of the ship. If you're aground, it's like if you're at anchor, but it has two red all-round lights vertically as well. So, oops, we ran aground. Then we put on the lights as if we're at anchor plus not under command. So aground equals at anchor plus not under command. Actually very logical when you think about it. Day signal, three balls vertically, which is also the same as at anchor plus not under command. Smaller vessels at anchor. A vessel less than 7 meters long at anchor, and it's not in or near a narrow channel, fairway or anchorage or where other vessels normally navigate, doesn't have to display any lights or signal figures prescribed by the Colregs, but of course it's smart to have a light on if you're at anchor. We see some more illustrations starting top left, a power-driven vessel more than 50 meters long. Below that, power-driven vessel less than 50 meters long. Sailing vessels, just side lights and stern lights. On the right hand side we have a power-driven vessel less than 20 meters long. We have a combined side lanterns, and you have power-driven vessel less than 12 meters long, and all vessels less than 7 meters, just one white light. At anchor over 50 meters, less than 50 meters, and if you're less than 7 meters outside areas with traffic, you don't have to have any lights. Trawling lights, fishing other than with trawl, not under command, vessels constrained by their draft, and vessels with restricted ability to maneuver. Red, white, red all round. Finally, we have tow less than 200 meters, tow more than 200 meters. We have a vessel being towed. We have a pilot vessels, and then we have one that we haven't mentioned before, which is vessels with divers in water. And if you have a diver in the water, you have restricted ability to maneuver, and you should also display the signal flag A, alpha, which looks like that.